Hey Gwenters, and welcome back for another episode of Gwenting. I know the last few episodes we focused on some decks, and you might want to see a few more decks, especially if you're interested in, let's say, monsters or Skellige, since we haven't covered them yet, or Syndicate if you're looking to build up Syndicate. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about them. We're going to get to them soon. But today I want to take a little bit of a break and actually talk about a totally different game mode. If you've been watching these videos and you've been keeping up, you're probably a high enough level that you can actually participate in the arena. Now, if you're like me, you probably have a lot of questions about arena when you're first starting out. Now, when you first start, so long as you make sure to claim the free pack that you get for starting the game, you will actually get 2 mirror shards, which means you get to start and play in the arena for free at any time you want. But you can also purchase your way into the arena using real money, which I'm not a fan of because I'm a pretty free-to-play guy, or you can use ore. So we're going to talk about how to play with ore. We're also going to talk about some of the payouts you can get from it and how much fun you can have playing it. I personally really like arena, but we'll talk about the one drawback I will say about arena before we get into this is that it will not count towards your rank climb. Now remember the ranking system here. So I currently am at 0 rank, which means pro ranking. And you can actually see, this is big news for me guys, but if you come to leaderboards, I am in the top 530 players in the world right now. So kind of a big deal. Still suck a lot. Still trying to iron out a lot of kinks with my decks, but it's been a really fun experience for me and I'm really enjoying it. The big thing I would say though, from that though is, again, whenever you play an arena win, or whenever you play an arena match and you win, it will not count towards your rank climb. Similarly though, if you play an arena match and lose, it will not hurt your rank climb either. And they have changed it now. There was some problems with this with your daily quests. Remember, when you come here, you'll be able to see these daily quests, and you'll be able to play those and it will count, as well as these contracts. And notably, if we come into contracts here, there's several contracts that you can get. Come to all, not yet complete. Actually, we'll just do all so you guys can see. If you type in arena, sorry, my keyboard is being a little weird there for a second. If you type in arena, you'll see complete an arena run with at least 3 wins. If you ever get Gaunter Dim as an option, you'll definitely want to take him. There's a couple of ones that are specific to Gaunter, which we'll talk about if we see him. But if not, just know to get him. And you need to lose an arena match when you played Gaunter from your hand. You'll also have to win a match when you play him from your hand, so which you'll probably have a good chance of doing. So anyway, let's get into it. This is just an example. These are all the things you can get from it. You need to make an arena deck with only bronze cards, only gold cards. And like, how does that work? Well, that's because the typical provision restrictions that apply to most decks do not apply in arena. It's a totally different game. So let's jump into this. So what you'll do is you'll come to the home screen, again with Play, Arena, Journey, Deck Builder. You'll just click on Arena. If you are a lower level, you will not have unlocked it yet. Just play in the regular way, in the regular play zone, and you'll be able to earn this in time. Now, entry cost. If you have those mirror shards, it's going to just show you the mirror shards. You can play them at any time. You can purchase those, you can win them, you can get them in some packs, but they are displayed only when you enter Arena at the top right next to your ore. So here, I'm just going to pay the 150 ore to enter. Otherwise, if I was just made of money and didn't care about my ore, I'd pay the $1.99. But we have the ore, so we'll pay it. So what you're going to happen first, count this out with me. So you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 slots on top and 13 on bottom. So you will be making a 26 card deck. You get to choose between 3 leader abilities. You have Enslave, which is going to seize an enemy unit of 3 or less. And I want you to ignore on any leader ability choice what the caveat is. So for this one, notice that it says this is raised by 1 for every 4 tactics you get. Just ignore that. You're not going to get 4 tactics unless you're super lucky. And even if you did, it might not work with the rest of your deck all that well. Now, anything, again, that same advice applies to these. So Hidden Cache, gain 2 coins. Your hordes require 2 less coins to trigger. Just ignore that. There's no guarantee you're going to get a horde coin card, and you're going to see why. Jackpot, gain 9 coins and boost an allied by any excess amount gained, you're not going to get an excess because you're not going to get any other coins. So I personally would ignore Syndicate abilities, except for maybe Blood Money, just because you can do damage with it. If you don't know that ability, don't worry, we'll cover it in a future video. But for right now, let's go for Enslave. Enslave is pretty good all on its own, even without that tactic raise. If you saw my last video on that Nilfgaard deck that lost, I got a bunch of wins with it. Trust me, you can get it with it too. It's not a perfect Nilfgaard deck though, and I actually used some of the shards I had to try to build a Soldier's Ball deck that's been a little bit better, but Enslave is still a very useful leader ability. So we're gonna go ahead and choose it. And you'll see top right is gonna be your leader ability. Then every time you're gonna get 4 card options, right? And these 4 options are going to be, you can only choose one of them. Now, I would suggest on any of these picking universal skills, right? So Elven Scout, if you've seen my Scoia'tael videos, you know I love Scoia'tael. I love Elven Scout. She is a phenomenal play with only 4 provision cost because she works so well with traps, but I'm probably not gonna get a trap. So I actually think the best card out of all of these, War Dancer is pretty good. She can do damage if she's boosted, but no guarantee on that. And no guarantee I'm going to get an elf. So instead, I'm going to stick with Drowner for a couple of reasons. One, Thrive is actually really good in Arena because it doesn't require any faction card specifics in order to work, right? So here, monsters actually are pretty good in Arena because they work so well with other factions. Drowner being a good example. So I also get to move a unit to another row and damage it by 2. So it's a great push card in terms of forcing the opponent into positions they don't love. So Beggar is going to give me profit, useless to me. Giving an allied unit poison is dumb generally in my opinion, unless you have Physitech Addict is the only card that's useful on. And I'm probably not going to get that. But Mutated Hounds are pretty good. They gave them a buff, so they're worth 4 points now. They do bleed and poison. Fire Scorpion's usually pretty good, like you saw in that other deck that I use with Enslaved, but I don't love it here. So we're going to go Mutated Hounds. Oh, these are some great options. Okay, so Wolf It In will damage an enemy by half its current power. He's pretty good. Karathi Heatwave is fantastic. Just straight up banishes a unit or an artifact. Sahil is a ton of fun, but you need to have a deck built around it. And then Detlef is just crazy good, but you need to have specific cards to make him work. Like if I didn't get any consumes, he'd just be worthless. So I'm actually gonna go for Karathi Heatwave here. And then you'll just see we'll keep getting options. Cranmer is good. He can do big boosts. Morvood is pretty good. He can boost Beast, but Torviel is a great suppression card. She can damage enemies on the ends of a row by 2 each, and then damage all enemies on a whole row by 1 if she's played to range, so we're going to go with her. Ragnar is pretty good. When you have shields, don't have any guarantee of that. Burn a Brand will actually get you 2 cards. And often Hildegrand is phenomenal when you can get him summoned to the top. Cyana is nasty mean. You can do some crazy mean stuff with Cyana. The problem with Cyana is she only has 3 hit points, and she requires an order in order to activate her ability. And you need to have a good card with a good deploy in order to make it work. So maybe after I'd gotten all of my cards, I'd want to do her, but I don't love any of these deploys. Like Toruviel is pretty good, but not my favorite. Burn a Brand gives me a 2-card reach, right? So if I don't get what I love on my mulligans, I can use Burn a Brand to get what I want. So we'll pick her. Oh my gosh, Great Oak is phenomenal. I don't even need to read these other cards. Great Oak has such universal benefit. I just need cards on the board, and he's gonna either do damage or boost. I guess let's say I don't know. Let's be open-minded there. And then here also, Judah is pretty good. Gimpy Gerwin does some good damage. Voimir's alright. They all need to be the same card though. But Beast gives a lot of flexibility because he's going to boost himself by 2 every turn there's a higher unit. So even though I might be able to like boost Treant to 13 to keep Judah from damaging herself, I'm actually just going to take the Beast. I like his flexibility just a little bit more. Equal to its armor. We don't have anything really with armor. Mutated Hounds, but Piercing Missile's pretty good. We could use just a card that could do a little bit of damage, I think, but we do have Teruviel, Great Oak, and Karathi Heatwave. So Dryad Enchantress actually gives us some flexibility, so we'll go with her. And here we just keep working through. So whenever we play a warrior, again, remember my advice here. We're just going to slide through. You know, none of these are warriors, so there's no point in taking a card that's going to be restricted to warriors. When if you think back, I don't think I've seen a single other warrior this whole time. Iron Falcon Infantry is a good toss card, but Sandstorm here damage enemies on the ends by 3, and that actually could pair well with Truvial on melee, get 5 damage total to ends. So I'm going to go with Sandstorm. And then here again, we're just going to kind of keep working through. So you get to do this 26 times. This can be anxiety inducing if this is your first time playing. But again, just keep in mind, if you don't, if you're not familiar with cards, just keep these few rules in mind. 1, ignore the second part of the card. And then if it ever comes with a fee or coin cost, just don't get it. Coins are really good within Syndicate, but it's too hard to get them and use them reliably. Nausicaa Brigade is pretty good if they have boost. Bloody Good Friends is actually a really good card though, because they have Insanity. I know I told you to ignore fee cards, but Insanity means that they can damage themselves by 1 and still activate their ability. Give them bleeding for 1, but if it's boosted, damage them by 1 instead. So you can spread a lot of bleeds. You can do 5. You can't kill themselves, so I guess they can only do 4 damage here. But that's pretty good. Though I think Nausicaa plays for 6 points, whereas Bloody Good Friends play for 5 still, regardless of how you play them, right? So I think I actually go for Nausicaa Brigade. Ciri is pretty awesome, but you have to base her around losing rounds. Saskia is a pretty phenomenal card, but you need to have Elf, Dwarf, and Dryads, which we don't really. Leo Bonart gives you some phenomenal flexibility between killing a Witcher, which I think is really similarly used, mostly against like Ivo or, I don't know, like a high play Witcher, Eskel Pathfinder. But he also does this destroy enemy unit with 9 or more power, which is basically the base Geralt ability, and that's pretty good. Again, here, I actually still really like these Drowners. I think they give you some good flexibility to use. Oh my gosh, another Great Oak. So Zoltan Scoundrel is also really good. If I had a good spying unit, Hengate Sword is pretty fun as well, because you can use it to replay that same spying unit. But here, Great Oak is just, it's the best card, honestly. If you get Great Oak for Arena, it is the most universally useful card that you can play at the end of any round to either boost itself by a bunch or do a bunch of damage. It's just great flexibility. Dwarf Berserkers are pretty annoying. They just get out some random damage, and they have some armor. And you'll remember back, if you look at this Dryad and Chantress, they would be a good 1-2 play. Get him out, he'll go down to 3 armor, and then play her, and he'll get those points back. Alright, Kurt is pretty good. He has a lock and a purify. Ignore Vesemir. You've seen my video recommending that Witcher trio if you're a brand new beginner, but we're not going to get Eskel and Lambert, so ignore that. Purify 3 adjacent enemies and damage them by 2. That can be good if they have a defender, but I'm not super worried. Percival actually would go really well with the Dwarf, the Treant, and the Dryad, but I would need to get those all in hand. Not sure how exactly I would feel about that. Whereas this lock and this purify are probably going to be helpful. Intimidate requires crimes. We don't have any. I'm not going to count on that. But the lock purify flexibility is pretty solid. So I'm actually going to go with him. If you disagreed with that choice, please let me know in the comments below. But I think that's pretty solid. Heymay Scald is going to stick to true with this draw discard. I actually really like Scald even more than Berna. She does 2 cards, so you have to be down to at least 9 before you play her, because you can only have 10 in hand total. I screwed this up once and played her as my first card played, which made it so I only drew 1, then banished the other, and then had to discard 2 cards. So I put myself out of really a good chance to win just by that stupid move. But Heymay is you're gonna play him. You'll have room for another card regardless. So he's actually a pretty good play. He's 4 points. No matter what in the regular game. Here, don't worry about provisions. Provisions can be a good indication of how much they're worth. If you're trying to just guess, this would be my other recommendation. Is just like, oh, I don't know which one of these is good. 5, 5, 4, 5. Okay, well, ignore the 4, honestly. This guy will do 2 damage, then 2 again if they have armor. That's just a 4-point play with a max 6-point play, but it probably wouldn't because they'd have to have armor. So you're looking best case scenario, this guy's going to get you 5 points unless you have some kind of damage whenever you damage a unit synergy, but I wouldn't worry about that. Then this guy is worth 7 points. If you damage 3 enemies, he'll lock himself to prevent this berserk at 3. If he gets damage down to 3, he'll destroy himself. And this Imperial Enforcers are going to damage the enemy unit by 2, and get 1 charge whenever we play a spying unit. So they're a good solid 5-point play. Dun Banner is only good if you have another Dun Banner. So I think we're actually going to go with Imperial Enforcers. Decent lock bait as well. Sapper's not super great. Gotta rely on armor. Red Haze is probably what we're gonna go for here. But we don't have any elves, so boosting won't work. Though it would be good if we had Harmony with Percival to get an elf, but we don't have Percival and we don't have another elf, so no reason. So Red Haze is probably the best option here. And choosing a unit and damaging it by the unit to the side gives us some dependable damage. Alright, we do have 1 Dryad, so Dryad's Caress has a purpose in life here. Bombardment is useless. Hunting Pack needs another one. So the choice is whether or not we want to purify and boost a unit with the option of Vitality if we already have this Enchantress out. Or we can pull this Viper Witcher, reveal a top card of our opponent's deck and banish it. I find that can be good. It's kind of a throw the dice situation. If you'll notice, most cards are bad that you get. That you have like a few really good gold cards. So because of that, they pair really well with I think like the Blind Eye Scout, I'm trying to remember, Grey Rider. I can't remember. They have a different name in this than they do in Throatbreaker. But you can look at the top 3 card of your unit's deck and put 1 on top. You play that first, and then you play Viper Witcher. That way you can choose their best card of those 3 options and get rid of that one. But you'll know if you've played cards that are like, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, pick 1 and play it. Sometimes you don't get very good cards. So I think here Dryad's Caress with another Purify is actually going to be pretty good. Now, Scoia'tael Neophyte gives us 2 units on the battlefield, and it also gives us an elf. So I think actually that's what we're going to go. I'm not a fan of Wolfpack at all. They only damage a unit by 2 and are only worth 2, so not phenomenal. Okay, so here's another thing. You'll have seen Masquerade Ball in the game, and it does really well. But again, we're just gonna ignore anything below something that says play a blank unless you already have it. And we have no aristocrats. So even though this is one of the best cards in the game with 14 provision count, again, you can't rely on provision alone. So you need to get rid of that. So Geralt Axial Purify and Reset a unit, so you can use him for a Purify, and then if one of your people is like locked and damaged, you can boost them back up. You can also Purify and Reset Fionn von Gernil. If you remember him, we played him as part of the Nilfgaard deck. He's only base power of 2, but he boosts himself by 5, and he's a defender, so you clear the defender status with the Purify and reset his score. That can be a good use. Getting another Karathi Heatwave would be just straight mean. But Tourney Shalmar is actually really good in arena decks for its ranged ability. So 2 for each allied unit from a different faction. So Tourney Shalmar here is Nilfgaard. So you can also see damage to Nilfgaardian enemy unit by 7. I wouldn't really rely on that, but it is arena, so they probably will have a Nilfgaard unit. So you could kill a Nilfgaardian Knight. Those are worth 7 points. Which is an 11-point play since he has base 4. But if you just flip through this, look, we have monsters. That's 1. 2 with Syndicate. This is 3 with the neutral. It's not out on the board though. So really 3 here with Scoia'tael, 4 with Skellige. Scoia'tael again, monsters again, Scoia'tael, neutral, Nilfgaard. So we're up to 5. Nilfgaard again, still 5. I think that's going to round it out. I don't think we have gotten a Northern Realms card yet. But if we did get a Northern Realms card, we would be at 6. So he would play himself right now. If we had one of each of those out, he's going to boost himself by 10 to 14 points. So Tourney Shalmar can be really good just because you have so many random cards. Oh, and neutral counts as a card as well. We might take Geralt here, actually. Zoltan's pretty good. if you can get dwarves. He has resilience, which means he'll stay on the board for until the next round, so you can play him in a short second round, especially if the opponent passes, and it basically gives you an extra card out on the board. He boosts adjacent dwarves by 2 and has 4 armor, so he's a pretty solid play. A high provision cost spend for the regular game, but him and Zigrin will give you 2 resilience plays that you can make. Especially if you play them behind Figus so they can't get killed, they'll just get preserved for the next round, and you start with his 4, and I think Zigrin's worth 5, so you get 9 points out. Naglfar is really good though, right? So look at 2 random gold cards from my deck, then play one and place the other on top, so I'll get it for the next play. So here I would be able to look at 2 of my gold cards, all of which are pretty solid, especially my Great Oaks. So I think I'm actually going to go for Naglfar. This is useless. I don't have an organic card. Geralt is pretty good, but a lot of the cards that mess you up, in my opinion, are really on the ranged road. Damien Delator, Kahir being notable exceptions on melee. Other people might have other thoughts. Put those in the comments below if you can think of other melee cards. But now I know I'm just kind of talking through all these cards. This is a good introduction to you for like a bunch of different cards in Witcher, in Gwent, and in the Witcher universe. But don't get too freaked out by this. Honestly, Arena's a ton of fun. Just get in there, pick some of these cards and play, and you're gonna learn a lot about a lot of different cards that you haven't been able to build yourself because they're all legendaries. Look at these. I have 4 legendary options. I don't have Naglfar, I don't have Wisp-Best Tribute, and I just barely got Zoltan. So I think, you're going to see a lot of cards and you're going to test them out. And then there's a bunch of synergy that you can test out with that you wouldn't normally be able to do, right? So, remember how I told you that Thrive is awesome and Dragolarva is probably my choice here. Damoon Warship is not bad. Damage enemy unit by 1 3 times can be pretty awesome. Get rid of a shield and then do 2 damage. And Dragolarva here will spawn a base copy of itself. It has those 2 armor, and then it's gonna get boosted every time we play something higher than it. So they actually pair really well with this Drowner and the other Drowner that we have, because those are both 2s. So that's a pretty good card. Redanian Knight is going to boost himself, but Immortal Cavalry is a 6-point play straight up with shields. So I think, but we for sure want to get a Northern Realms card in here, because we don't really have one. Tax Collector give me coins, but I kind of avoid coins the whole time, so there's no point in going for that. I think we'll go for Cavalry, just because Redanian Knight is worth a bunch of points if you can play him in a long round. It's a good early play, but if he gets damaged or locked, then he's useless. So, but Cavalry give us some good flexibility with this straight up play. Okay, we can take another Kurt. I don't hate that. Portal, I think I'm gonna vote against purely because I think you gotta have 4 provision cost cards, and we kind of avoided that. Okay, and then it would ignore their deploys, so Nausicaa would get wasted. And then Heimei would be the other one, and he'd get wasted as well, both of which have decent abilities. And then Squirtle Neophyte would get wasted too. So any of those 3 would be trashed. Murtagh Braka is pretty good, damage 2 enemy units by 2. But I think I like Kurt more. The only exception I would say, I don't think we had a neutral card. I don't know that I want to base my whole deck off of Tourney Shalmar. But Murtagh Braka is pretty solid in terms of just some straight up damage. He is 8 points, and we don't have a whole lot of cards that we need that have orders ourselves, so we don't really need to Purify. Lock's gonna really just be the only use for Kurt, so I think actually Murtagh Braka will be good for us. We could use another damage card, and then he pairs with that Tourney Shalmar as well. Alright, final card. Twistic Axeman. We don't have enough cards that do damage to be worried. Forbidden Magic can be pretty mean. If you can death blow an enemy and spawn a Kidweni Revenant and keep going, it can be pretty righteous. But I don't see a ton of damage cards on our end. Like, we got the 2 Great Oaks. Oh, I take that back. We got 2 Drowners, 2 Great Oaks, Mutated Hounds, Teruvial, Sandstorm, Nausicaa Brigade. Alright, I mean, they require a specific play, but we might actually be able to do that. Imperium Forces, Murtigbrock. Alright, and then if he gets a boosted Nilfgaardian, even Tourney Shelmar as well. So, alright, we'll take a chance with Forbidden Magic. Alright, we're in. Also, he's another Northern Realms card if you do get the spawn. So you'll notice here there's no provision cost count. Like, we just have our leader ability straight up with these cards. If you would recall, we actually had 3 options at Karathi Heatwave. I hope we don't regret not taking those. Karathi Heatwave is super brutal in my opinion. Honestly, this is an aside or a final part of the video. They constantly rework cards, and I don't know. Personally, I don't love using Karathi Heatwave because I find it to be too much of a stricture on boosting units. But maybe I should, because this banish is not just to destroy like a Geralt would be, where you can destroy a unit of 9 or more power. This gets it gone from the game. Get gone. It will just delete it, like it never existed. So you can't revive the unit. You can't boost yourself by its power from the graveyard or damage an enemy unit from the graveyard. It's just gone. And for only 10 provision count, that can be a huge play that you can't replicate really in any other way. Some other cards like Geralt Jurden can do that broad reset on a whole row and get maybe more net points. But Karathi Heatwave, you can just delete the unit and move on with the rest of the game. So you can play it early or you can play it late. Play it early on a defender, for an example, or late on Kahir after he's boosted to 50. I've had both happen to me, and it'll ruin your game. So maybe we should have taken 3, but I think we have some good flexibility. And you do need cards that'll put points on the board. Don't get too distracted by super cool special cards that'll do damage or call in rainstorms or something like that. Stay focused. Anyway, this is Arena. This is a little bit of a long video, but I wanted to give you a good walkthrough, explain to you specifically how it worked, and then how you get these cards. The last thing I will say, you'll notice these 3 seals. If you lose 3 games, you're out. If you win 9 games, you've won. So you can play a maximum of, what would that be, 9 plus 2, 11 games. That's the maximum number of games you can play. Notably, though, you can break the contract if you hate your deck and just buy your way back in with another 150 ore. Or you can just build the deck, let it sit for a week, and then come back in and play it anytime. Note that you do not have to play these through sequentially. You don't have to just keep playing all the way through a potential 11 games. You just play them one at a time. After I beat or lose this one, if I beat it, I'll be able to click the next one when I'm done. If I lose it, I'll just press this first one again and go from there. But for now, I know I've said I'm finished, but this is actually the end. If you have any questions, if you have some of these cards that you've used or you thought I should have picked something different, again, put that in the comments. Love to hear your guys' feedback. And then until then, subscribe, like, and let me know if there's other content specifically that you'd like me to make, especially for intermediate players, since that's what we're focused on right now. But thank you guys so much, and keep on Gwenting.